Chapter 1, Lesson 2, Multiplying Rational Numbers. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at multiplication. Now, I think probably most of you are fairly comfortable with integer multiplication, so multiplying whole numbers by other whole numbers. If you ever have an issue with that, keep in mind that it's the same as repeated addition. So 5 times 3 is going to be the same process as 5 plus 5 plus 5. The same answer. You can also do 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Doesn't matter. Either 5 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 5. Okay. Now, often the problem that students will have is when we have negative numbers introduced. Two rules for that. If the signs are the same, so either two positives or two negatives, the product is going to be positive. If you have more than two numbers, you're looking for pairs of negative numbers. So if you have 5 numbers you're multiplying and 2 of them are negative and the other 3 are positive, it's going to be a positive answer. If 4 of them are negative and 1 is positive, you'll have a positive answer because the two pairs will cancel each other out. If the signs are different, so if you're just multiplying two numbers, one's negative, one's positive, the product will always be negative. Doesn't matter what the numbers are, the product is going to be negative. If you have more than two numbers, if we go back and we have 5 numbers again, and 3 of them are negative, well, the pair of negative signs will cancel out, but you'll still be left with one more. So if you ever have an odd number of negative numbers that you're multiplying together, the answer is going to be negative. Okay, so what we're looking at with this first concept is multiplying an integer by a fraction. Most of the steps stay the same. We take the integer and we multiply it by the numerator, so 5 times 1, and that's going to give us 5 in this case. And then we basically just carry over the denominator. And the reason we do that is every integer can be written as a fraction with 1 in the denominator. And if we multiply these as we do normal fractions, we would have the numerators 5 times 1 equals 5, and then the denominator of 1 times 8 is going to leave us with whatever the denominator in our fraction is. It's going to stay the same. So if you're multiplying an integer by a fraction, make sure that you multiply the numerators. That's your first step. And then your denominator is just going to stay the same. And if you need to, you're always going to simplify. Okay? In our case, we have a prime number for our numerator. So the numerator and the denominator only share 1 as a factor. So we know that this is a simplified fraction. And we're done with that problem. Okay? If we look at one that's slightly more difficult, we'll keep it pretty similar though. Let's go with negative 5 times 3 over 8. Okay? So now, first of all, we have this negative sign. And we can kind of ignore that because we see that we have one negative sign, one negative number, one positive number. So we know wherever we end up, our answer is going to be negative. All right? Now we can do our math. 5 times 3 is going to equal 15. Okay? And then we'll draw in our denominator. We'll bring in our 1. 1 times 8 is going to be 8. And we have our negative sign already there. And so now we have negative 15/8. Okay, we're done with all our multiplication, but now we have to come back and we have to simplify. This is an improper fraction, right? Because the numerator is larger than the denominator. So we're going to have to pull out one of the denominators, pull out 1/8. That's going to leave us with 7 over 8. And we pulled out 1, so we've got 1 7/8. And we've got to remember that we've got that negative sign. So our answer ends up being negative 1 7/8. Okay, next lesson we will look at multiplying fractions by other fractions.